I'm the Simple Car Guy, and today I will show you exactly how much it cost me to buy and own this BMW i3 over the last 2 years, including fuel, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. We'll also go over how much you could expect to pay to maintain this vehicle and what you can do to keep the cost low and keep the car long term. As you can see, this car gets used a lot as it's my main daily driver for picking up groceries and parts and just whatever it may be, or like firewood. But let's jump straight to the point. I bought this BMW i3 almost exactly 2 years ago from an auction site in a horrible condition for $8,123, including the auction fees. I didn't know if it was running or not, but I wanted to learn more about EVs, and this was the cheapest and most interesting way of getting to do so for me. Of course, I also had to pay a service fee as I'm not a dealer and I can't buy from an auction directly, as well as shipping from California to Illinois. And I had to buy a new key from the dealer directly as the car didn't come with one. So that was quite expensive. It actually cost me additional $1,875, which is a good chunk of change, but of course this wouldn't apply to most people. On top of that, I also had to register the car and pay the state tax, which ended up being about $660. So before I even knew if the car was working, I was $10,658 into this adventure. I've made a lot of videos with this car, so if you're interested in the details, check those out. I'll have a playlist right here or maybe in the description, but luckily I was able to fix the high voltage problem for basically free and get the car going. That was super exciting and I couldn't believe that I was actually able to fix it, but that was just the start of all the issues. I then spent about $125 on the replacement glass, just right here in the rear, as it was completely missing since I believe they broke it in order to get into the car, as it was missing the key. And luckily it was easy to replace as well. What wasn't easy is getting this car clean. It took me a full day to get it decent, but at least it didn't cost me anything as I've already had all of the supplies at home. What sucks, and I haven't really mentioned on video before, is that even after getting it clean, it keeps coming back. The dirt somehow keeps coming from the bottom and the seats keep getting dirty every time, and I have to clean it about every 6 months. Kind of crazy, never had that with any other car. Now that the car was drivable and, well, not disgusting, I wanted to enjoy the car and drive it as is. But after a while, I installed a larger screen, which I paid $500 for, and made the car feel a lot more modern. 100% recommend an older i3s with the smaller screen. I also was able to sell the OEM screen for $250. Another necessary modification, in my opinion, is the suspension. I made the car handle much better and feel a lot more stable on the highway by installing lowered springs. As you can see, the gap is pretty small on this, as well as spacers. So the track of the car is widened by those spacers. I paid $240 for both as I found them locally. It made the car actually drivable outside of the city. I replaced the shock absorber dust covers at the same time as those were fully worn out, which cost me additional $45. I've done a few other mods around the car, but you can check out those videos on my channel and I will not be adding it to this car's total, as those were just mostly for fun. Anyway, let's move on to maintenance. Since I didn't really have any history on this vehicle other than the Carfax, which showed me that I had at least yearly visits to the dealer, I figured I'll do all of the basics. My BMW i3 is actually a plug-in hybrid, which means it has an internal combustion engine acting as a generator to charge up the battery. I specifically wanted this version as I love the idea, but of course there are some limitations and you will also have to maintain it like any other engine. Anyway, if you have the range extender or plan on getting a car with one, it's a good idea to check how many hours it has and how much it has been used. You will need a BMW scanner for this. Check out my list down below on my favorite BMW scanners, but basically you just need to go to the range extender module and you can see the live data where it will show you the amount of minutes it has been used. This is very important to know as the odometer on the car does not differentiate between miles driven on EV, like pure EV, or miles driven with the engine running, and it is possible to drive this car and never use the engine. Although the car will force you to run it once in a while if you have gas, but of course if you don't, then it just won't run. And of course it's also possible to use it almost continuously if you want to, and if you have your car coded to where you can turn it on manually. Check out this video on how to do that if you want to. It's actually super useful for like highway driving and long distance driving. The reason both are important is because engines are engineered to run, so an engine that's not used will develop issues such as dry seals and gaskets, and it will start to leak eventually. On the other hand, if the engine has been running for as many hours as, for example, mine has, it's probably a good idea to do some proper maintenance. I started with replacing the oil, which you should do yearly at a minimum, which cost me less than $50 as I did it myself, but you can expect to spend around $120 at the dealer. I also quickly changed the cabin air filter, which is a super easy DIY job and was only $20 for a high quality filter. A dealer will charge you well over $100 for this one also, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, do it yourself. For another $20, I replaced the wiper blades on the car as well. Another easy DIY job. Knowing how many hours were on the engine and also not seeing anything in the Carfax, I figured that the spark plugs have never been changed on this car, so that was my next maintenance item. This is a little more complicated, but if you are mechanically inclined, you can change them yourself in about 60 to 90 minutes. I paid $35 for the plugs, but the dealer would charge you about $425 to replace these two spark plugs. You can see how worn out mine were, so it was definitely worth the effort. It's also worth the effort to keep the range extender in good shape, as it allows this EV with a tiny battery to go long distances. I regularly take it on trips that are double the EV range, and it performs perfectly. I can use the battery locally and still be able to leave the city. It's also recommended that you replace the brake fluid every 2 years, which will run you between $100 to $250 depending on the shop, but I've never bothered with this one, as after testing the moisture content, it came all within spec. Brake pads are technically also a wearable item on this BMW i3, but once you learn how to drive with the regen braking, they are practically never used and last forever. In fact, these are the original brake pads on my car. Either way, the pads are under $50 and shouldn't be needed until well over 100,000 miles. This car has 100,000 miles and the brake pads are still pretty good. Lastly, you might be worried about the high voltage battery, and that's a valid concern, especially since this was pretty early on into the EV world when BMW came out with the i3. But the i3 has an active battery thermal management system, unlike the Nissan Leaf, for example, which means the battery is heated or cooled as needed, and thus making it last much longer and degrade much slower. It has not been known to fail, and even if it does, BMW has an 8-year and 100,000 mile warranty on these batteries, so it should not be an issue at all. If you live in California, that warranty is almost doubled. And if you're worried about other issues, check out my BMW i3 reliability video right here, where I go over all of the issues that you can expect. One of those items is the 12-volt battery that will fail and will probably get you stranded, as it kind of makes the car stop completely. Personally, I haven't had to change mine yet, but it will run you about $200 for the battery plus labor. So not an inexpensive repair. Of course, it can be done yourself, but it is pretty involved compared to a regular car. To avoid getting stranded, I carry a portable jump starter. I also always carry a portable EV charger. In fact, I have recently tested this Enderman Level 2 32 amp portable charger with lots of functionality and at a price point that will not break the bank. In the box, you get a carrying case, a manual with basic information, specifications, and information on how to set up the app. Yes, this is a smart charger as well. More on that in a second. We also get a cable storage bracket and a wall mount. The charging gun is well made and nicely insulated, just like the rest of the unit, making it IP66 water resistant, and unlike a lot of other units on the market, the cable here is UL approved and the entire unit is ETL certified. This ensures safety items like overvoltage, low voltage, low current, overcharging, overheating, lightning, leakage, package and grounding protections are actually valid. I decided to install mine in the garage for a long-term testing and plugged it into a NEMA 1450 receptacle to get the full 32 amps out of it. This means my BMW i3 will charge at a full maximum speed of 7.68 kilowatts, which is 4 times faster than a good level 1 charger. I also love that the cable is 25 feet long and can reach almost to the end of my driveway, making it easy to use it even if the car is facing the other way. I also like that it has a built-in screen that shows all of the necessary information. On top of that, you can easily change the max amps as well as add a delay right on the unit. Lastly, it can be connected to Wi-Fi and then be controlled through the app. It allows you to start and stop charging, set a timer for lower cost electricity, limit the current output, as well as view charging statistics. Of course, you can use it in your garage or take it with you in the car as well. Check out the link in the description for more information. All of these items are fairly inexpensive, even if you do have to go to the dealer, but there is one major expense that will catch most new owners off guard. These cars have a very unique wheel and tire combo that's not present on any other vehicle in the world. So getting wheels or tires is tricky and expensive. In fact, there are only 1 or 2 manufacturers left that actually make tires for this car, and there have only been a couple aftermarket wheels you could buy over the years. I have one of those options that were sold here in the US on my car, and I've installed winter tires on it. And you will need a good set of tires if you live in the cold weather, as this is a rear-wheel drive car only, and if you have 20-inch wheels, you will need 19-inch winter wheels and tires, as they don't make all-season or winter tires for the 20-inch wheel. Crazy. As you can see, this gets a little confusing and pretty expensive. You can expect to spend between $200 to $300 per tire for the 20-inch wheels, and unfortunately, they don't last very long. Luckily, the 19-inch wheel has a few more options and does have all-season and winter tires available. My car came with a set of 19-inch OEM wheels that I didn't really like much, but at least it had good all-season Bridgestone tires on it, so I went hunting for a better set, and especially one for winter. Not wanting to spend over $1,000 on winter tires, I found a set of black aftermarket wheels that you can see on the car now with practically brand new set of winter tires for only $600. It was locally from a guy that lives nearby, so that's awesome. He sold his car, didn't need those anymore, I got a good deal. In fact, I found another set for $500 just a few months later, and bought that one too. I then went a little crazy and bought my summer set that I run for 8 months out of the year for an additional $1,100. Now that seems like a lot, and it is, but I really like this 20-inch set, and it came with practically brand new summer tires. To recoup some of the cost, I sold my OEM wheels for $450 and then mounted the all-season tires onto the aftermarket wheels that came with the second set of winter tires and sold those for $950. Basically, I got lucky with what I had available locally, and now I have a very nice aftermarket set of 19-inch winter wheels with winter tires, as well as 4 more winter tires for the future, and of course the 20-inch summer wheel and tire set. After everything, I've only ended up spending $800 total. My point here is that unless you want to do what I did, you will spend some coin on tires. Luckily for me, the sets that I have accumulated now should last me the life of the car, or at the very least until I sell it. Clearly, that's a huge expected expense on this car, but what about unexpected repairs? In my case, I spent another $600 to replace the windshield and about $200 for the replacement plastic surround piece that I did myself in 10 minutes. This isn't a common problem or anything, but a leaking windshield washer pump is. I fixed it with some epoxy, but a new pump's about $50, so it's a cheap repair. Unfortunately, the windshield replacement caused some damage to the trim piece on the A-pillar, which flew away while driving. I replaced it for another $150 and wrapped it in vinyl myself to save some money. Well, that's about all for maintenance and repair costs on this 2016 BMW i3, and it may seem like a lot, but in my case, it was mostly due to buying a very poor example of this awesome little car. Of course, you still have to charge it, but luckily that is very inexpensive and I have free chargers available around me as well. In fact, in the last 2 years, I put around 9,000 miles on this car, and I would assume about 80% of that was in pure electric mode. That means 7,200 miles were driven in EV only mode, and since the car gets about 3.7 miles per kilowatt, and I pay 15 cents per kilowatt, I spent about $290 in electricity over 2 years. When the engine is running, the vehicle still uses gas though, and it gets about 45 miles to a gallon, which means I used about 40 gallons of fuel for the remaining 1,800 miles, costing me additional $140 in gas if I paid an average of $3.50 per gallon. Those are some great savings compared to all other cars I've ever had, and costing me only $430 in fuel in 2 years of use. In reality, it was probably even less than that, as I've charged it up quite a few times at free chargers as well, but we'll leave that out of this equation just to make the math easier. Lastly, my insurance policy for this car was $950 per year with mid to high coverage and pretty good driving history on my part. That pretty much concludes everything that I have spent on this car over the last 2 years. And now, was it worth it? Well, that depends on how you view your cars, including the purchase price, taxes, fees, maintenance, all of the repairs, insurance, and fuel. I spent around $14,500 over the last 2 years. But I've had a great time working on this car and learning more about the EV world. Of course, I bought it at the peak of the pandemic, so the prices were kind of high, but it's still valued at about $95,000 to maybe $10,000, so the depreciation has not been terrible. If you think about it, the average ownership cost ended up being about $205 a month. Well guys, I have completely run out of light and it's pretty chilly out here, but I hope this video has answered some of your questions on how much money was actually spent on this car over the last 2 years and helped some of you uncover the true cost of ownership, maintenance, and repair. I'm still very happy with my purchase since after fixing all of those auction issues, it has been a very cheap vehicle to run and should be very budget friendly for the next few years. Check out this video to find out all of the problems you can expect on a BMW i3 and how to prevent them. But on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!